after hearing Vijay's talk, now we're going to back to our some serious kind of academic research work. And I have heard Vijay talk about Harvard University, and thank you so much for coming up here to talk in this Bharat Bodh Conclave in Guwahati. And today I'll be talking about something that we have developed a course on Indian knowledge system. This is the master degree course, and I'm going to wrap up 3 lectures into one, taking over 30 minutes. And let me introduce myself first. So I started my research journey as a kind of medical doctor in a small community of a silk village, Swalpusi. Back in 1994, we have this website, KaviKrishna.org. If you want to know more about us, you can go there, visit our website. And we have the KaviKrishna Laboratory in IIT. We started in 2012. This is our team. This is the hardcore biomedical stem cell and cancer research. And we have the Thor lab that is a part of this Foresight Institute at Harvard University first until 2018. Then I moved to the University of Massachusetts Lowell as an independent lab. And through these 3 institutes, we're running a medical research program. And one of the programs is the Medical Humanities. The Medical Humanities is that interdisciplinary between medical science and humanity. And we're trying to bring this Indian knowledge system research within that scope. Today, I would like to touch on something very important. I have invited my good friend, Srindaran Bhattacharya, sitting here to hear my talk. And he is one of our Hindu nationalists. Many of them have the question about this, why Western world has been depriving us to learn our history. This is a common theme because the main academic issue around the world is the continuity of Indian civilization. I mean, those who have traveled around the world, like our Professor Vijay, he would understand that. In the rest of the world, India is recognized as something new, started by Buddhist and Islamic invasion. We could be beating another bush, it doesn't really matter to them, because they do have a research. We don't have a research. And this brings a psychological issue for us, the psychological domain, for social psychological issue. The essence of Hindu self-identity, we can't call it Hindutva. This essence of Hindu self-identity is causing a lot of turmoil in India, also around the world, as India's power is rising. As I speak today here, about, I think close to 100 million people are gathering in Mahakumbh in Uttar Pradesh. Many people are going there. It's the sense of self-identity. But what is that self-identity? How can you have a self-identity if you don't have a temporal identity? The temporal identity is about your continuation of the individual self from childhood to your old age, or for a civilization from prehistory to right now. So that's also an issue. And that brings us to our hypothesis that we proposed back in 2001 in a University of Toronto meeting. And I wrote a book about that called A Scientist Journey, the Hindutva Journey of a Scientist, or Azon Bigyan Hindutva Jatra. We published that work also back in 2003. So here we propose that Indian history, Hindu history, could be understood in terms of knowledge emergence. This doesn't work, but knowledge emergence, you can see the knowledge beam, and there's successive those circle. It could be an era of civilization, or era, like, for example, right from Stone Age, you can go all up to modern age. There is of course a little breakup in between, but there is a continuity through a knowledge beam or knowledge emergence. And as Professor Vijay Mishra from Harvard University just before me talked about, that you can understand the landmark of India in the perspective of mind, idealistic view, and that's the idea, the knowledge being. And from materialistic point of view, those are successive era landmarks, the archaeological landmark, right, starting from this Indus Valley. So, but there is a challenge here. And this is the publication of our article. You can go online, and those who are going to pursue our master degree course, hoping I see many young students here. So welcome to our IIT Guwahati lab, our Swankosy Center of Indian Knowledge System. For you, you can search for this, the globalization and emerging opportunities for indigenous culture online. You'll find our hypothesis published in 2003. So there, one of the key concept is the structure of indigenous knowledge system, a structure of Hindu knowledge system. So what is the structure? Even though we're talking about Hindu knowledge or any other knowledge, actually academical and social science, there is no agreement of what is the mechanism of knowledge generation. Believe me or not, even though we are sitting in a knowledge era in modern world, many companies are generating knowledge, patent, we are publishing paper. We do not really know how knowledge is generated. So there are some views we have organized, and one of the views from a Tantra view, I'm going to talk about that there is the cooperation, network. Tantra means network, by the way, Tantra. The cooperation between different diverse group and identity lead to emergence of power, of Gyan, that's knowledge emergence. In that context, if you see, Hindu knowledge could have a lot of components. Yoga, Ayurveda, could be also Muga silk weaving. And I'll be talking about that Muga silk weaving now. Why? Because Muga silk has been discovered in an Indus Valley site 5,800 years ago. Those people who were living in Indus Valley were actually reading Muga silk. We do not know where they got the Muga. Right. If you go to a PNS publication by a Harvard group, they have documented in 2018. So if we want to have a claim of this temporal identity of Indian civilization continuity, one of the best model would be trace this Swankosy Muga silk heritage to something in this valley. It's like a dream, but that could be one potential hypothesis we can test. So that brings us to this slide here. That Silk Route, we all know about Silk Route, and ICAS has this ICAS 5 course on Silk Route. That this is one of these landmark in our human civilization. Our Silk Route was a transmit of knowledge, and one of the Silk Route we have studied that goes from north to south, right from Central Asia to Vietnam. We have some evidences of this one. The part of the Silk Route is this, our Swankosy area, Kamekhya, Hazu Hayagriva temple, all the way to Bhutan, as there is Sindh Raja place in Bhutan of 6th century. And I wrote a book about that. So, that brings us to my main title, which is kind of a complicated, but I am going to now tell you the meaning to make it simplified. That we're here to explore north-south, that we call Vedic Silk Route, temporal identity, by a medical humanities approach. Because I'm a doctor, I'm not a social scientist, I'm not an archaeologist, I'm not a historian. I'm a medical humanity, or I can be expert on medical humanity. And we have some methodologies on top about. These methodologies are ethnography, phenomenology, and community-based participatory action research. is also employed by medical anthropologists too. We apply this kind of phenomenology and ethnography to study disease processes like tuberculosis or cancer in a community. So the definition of medical humanities, again, this is a humanistic side of our medical practice. The question is this: how could methodologies of medical humanities contribute to study the Vedic Silk Route? So here, as I said, my expertise in methodology of medical humanities. As a community doctor in Swankoti since 1994, I practiced in Bhutan, the part of this Vedic Silk Route for 4 years, and I have been doing the CPPR for the last about 3 decades. And so, in nutshell, my summary of my talk would be, I'm going to provide evidence to you first that we have discovered an esoteric secret tantra practice in our area, Swankoti, through our medical humanities approach. Number 2, we have discovered a silk weaver mediated Hindu knowledge system as a model to study indigenous knowledge system. Number 3, that we have established a living Muga silk museum to further our study in Vedic Silk Route. So, first one. Before that, I have the appeal for support. We had before Professor Rajneesh Mishra was sitting here. He is from JNU, and he told me that there is not much of support from present Indian government to study Indian knowledge system. And I know that from IIT Guwahati, Uday Dixit also said, we have some IKS center, but not much of funding. But we know that we need funding as a researcher. We have ambitious plan too. This is the ambitious plan. We are taking forward our work to Harvard Medical School, and we have now Vijay Mishra knows about that. We have our collaboration with the India Discovery Center at Harvard. So those who listen to us, please support us. With that, let me first put a first result. What we did, we applied these medical humanities methodologies for about between 1994 to year 2001. And there I worked with many indigenous healers, tantric healers. We had competition, also friends. Through them I learned about this, Zibo Upakara Tantra. It's an esoteric oral tradition, very secretive. Because those who know about Tantra, many of the Tantras remain still orally transmitted. And yesterday Professor Kapil Kapoor talked about the value of this oral tradition for studying Indian knowledge system. And I believe that if Professor Kapil Kapoor is sharing my talk right now from Delhi, so he should be hearing that we also need to incorporate this oral tradition as a part of study of Indian knowledge system. So for our course that is designed from KaviKrishna should be recognized for that. We are the first one actually to bring the oral tradition of Tantra to the world, as I'll show you here. So what we found is there are 5 elements here, and Nigoda Yoga Pranayama. We're practicing that pranayama here for our cancer patients regularly perform this. Then pure vaccination was work, but we don't practice that, but we studied that to understand how immunity kind of methodology of vaccination was actually used by Indian traditional healer before even British or Western, discovered vaccination. And then we have this herbal nutrition, of course, a part of Ayurveda. Then the kirtan, yoga, and then there's a satsang. Satsang, those who know, is what Buddhism and Hinduism. During part of 12th to 16th century, there's a lot of Buddhists called Sahaja Satsang. It's an element of Vaishnava, Buddhism, Tantric, as well as Shaivism all combined. And we believe our Satra Guru Asana Veda evolved from that kind of combinations. That's another part to discuss. But Satsang and that the KaviKrishna was a main mantra of the Jiva Upakara Tantra. Kavi means vision. Krishna is action. And KaviKrishna is mentioned in the first hymn of Rig Veda, Agni, as KaviKrishna. KaviKrishna became KaviKrishna eventually. This is a picture of me performing Nigota Yoga in Bhutan in 1996. To show that we have been studying this for a long time. So this is another result next. This is our archaeological part in a Suwatmuni cave. Those who want to visit Swampasi are invited to come here to really see how we are trying to preserve our archaeological site in Swampasi. And then this is our key concept of this, the Panchakosa model. That's part of this, what I call the Vedic altruism or Jiva Tantra. As Professor Vijay Mishraji mentioned about this materialistic and mind, the Shankha system of 700 BC, even before that, we know in Atharva Veda they mentioned the Panchakosa system. We have this Annamaya made of food, the Pranamaya made of air, Manomaya of mind, Vijnanamaya of knowledge, and Anandamaya of our Atma, soul. So what this Jiva Tantra being is a sixth kosa called Avatar kosa. It's of Ojas or subtle energy. In Gita it is mentioned Oja, or Sahasa Oja, that brings this courage. So during stress in our body or in a society, this Avatar kosa emerges. And the tantric healers' main practice was to activate this avatar kosa in our body and mind for healing. That is not so the philosophy of this Bharat Tantra. So we use this philosophy in our biomedical science, that if this is the case for society, why not for human cell, for stem cells? That during crisis, maybe some of the stem cells might reprogram, become avatar cells, and protect the rest of the community. That's how we discovered this altruistic stem cell from human embryonic stem cell. And this is the book written by one of the philosophers of Jiva Tantra, happened to be my father, Krishna Das, Hondalina Horzui, or in English, The Fire of Golden Nail. So it has been actually recognized all over the world. There's a press release from Elsevier, a part of our publication where they recognized. They said that this study of stem cell altruism was inspired by the Indian Vedantic philosophical theory of altruistic behavior, which was referred in the poem Fire of Golden Nail, written by Vedic philosopher and poet Krishna Das of Kamrupa. Poet Krishna Das conceptualized the idea while undergoing surgery for throat cancer and initiated the KaviKrishna Foundation to test his idea through vigorous scientific research. So next is this, that altruism is about group selection. It is very challenging to demonstrate at the molecular level. However, the idea of altruism that we are describing here is the philosophical view of Vedic Jiva Bhagavad or Vedic altruism, a part of Vedantic thought that states that during stress, the living organism acquires a higher state known as avatar. So that's how we have been recognized by scientific community of transforming a piece of Hindu philosophy to test our hypothesis in stem cell research. And the next result from this, our medical humanities approach I'm talking about, is this, that we have been able to map out social networking as shown here. This is the law I'm showing here. The social networking we developed by using a computer program called Delphi, and we are working on that. There we're trying to physically demonstrate that this arrival of or appearance of obiter kosha in a community. So that has been also published recently. And these are our students who have completed their PhD degree. So we have Partha is very complete. Dr. Lekika Pathak is here. She completed her PhD just recently. So all has been documented. Our study on the first part. The next another result, very interesting for us and for Indian knowledge system, is that we found a sort of a reasoning method that we can apply for designing scientific experiment. And this has these few elements. And this is probably derived from Nyaya Shastra, but then with the folk tradition, the oral tradition is also transformed into something unique. It has the observation of a desire, Ichha protection, Ichha, desire, active experience should be involved. Then protection, observation, Anuma is kind of a, we call inference. Yukti, logic, Samasya, analysis of a problem, Dharana, generating an idea, and then Pragya, knowledge in yourself. And so this has an iconography in Suanapasa's Hatisatra. This is a Narayan and Shiva, we can call the Prakriti and Purusha, Shankha, dualism. The dual action between Prakriti, or mother and Vijay Mishra said, and heaven, how this interact. Idealism, materialism interact to lead to knowledge emergence. And this, by using this Sakavata Torko method, we have designed experiment. And we have actually identified a natural vaccination has been published, and there is also a news report on that. Age-old aerosol inoculation practice in Czech TV has scientific basis study. So this is an example. Indian knowledge system, it should not be all about reading text, about monument only. It's about using our own experimental methodology that our ancestors used to generate knowledge. Using those methodology to design new scientific experiments, not only in medical science, as I said, also in other branches of science. That's why we're looking for, and we could be example from KaviKrishna, and this course we've designed for master degree, also for PhD, because we have here Mr. Rupam Das. He is a PhD student from us at IIT Guwahati, and he is actually working on this. So this is here to learn, if you join us, how to develop your analytic power. So you can develop a career. We'll have capstone project as well. You can be a leader. You can use your common sense. You then have your self-identity. So that kind of course we have designed. This is another publication of our study method on the CVP year, published recently. An abstract, a 3-decade-long community-based participation research among India and Bhutan's ethnic minorities led to discovery of 32 unique medicinal plants having anti-cancer properties. I use the term ethnic minority because in Bhutan, I studied with Sharsuk. They use born practice, so they're called ethnic minority. And here in Kamrupa, I use this indigenous Hindu community, like we. We are actually ethnic minority, or maybe Hindu, but we follow this very age-old tradition of like Kamrupiya Tantra, Kamrupiya Vaishnavism, with distinct identity called Kamrupiya. And we have become minority, so that's why we use our ethnic minority. So these are the books have been published so far, and recently this is a peer-reviewed book chapter published by a group led by Stanford University's Arvind Gao. We have applied this Jivabhava Tantra's view, our medical humanities philosophy, in bioethics. So those who are learn about medical humanity, bioethics is a very important component of medical humanity. So you can see that this small oral tradition coming from this Suankusu Hazu area has been accepted as a relevant Hindu biological point of view for embryo editing. This is how we need to reinvent our self-identity of Hindu knowledge system. We should not neglect oral tradition. It may be coming from anywhere in India, maybe in a small minority group, but this is maybe preserving our ancient wisdom. And that's the example of Suankusi Hazu area. So that's the example that our work was accepted. Many people, many Hindu scholars work were rejected, as I was aware of this. This book is available, you can read it here. This book chapter is a part of our course as well. So these are my philosophical mentors, helped by Bob, who have really helped me to develop my medical humanity philosophical side, and also Dal Krishna Bora, and I knew him since my childhood, extensive knowledge on Vedic philosophy, oral tradition as well. And Dal Krishna Bora is well known in Assam from one village to others. And he has been a pracharya of Rashtriya Sangha Sangha for many years, and Acharya of a Vaishnava group called Bhagavati Samaj. And then we have Jagat Gura, who is a tantric. Then another mentor is led Mananiya Binayak Kanetkar. He was the RSS pracharya and the founder of Bharatiya Itihas Samiti in Assam. And here my group from IKS went to visit Banayangzi back in 2022. And then lastly, my mentors are my dad, of course my mom, and this is our ancestral home. So with that, I covered the first objective that we discovered the Tantra. What is the future study of this Tantra? I wrote a book about this, but the future we're working on to see connection of this Tantra to Habbraja Tantra, a 6th century Tantra conceptualized in Kamakya, translated to Tibetan and Chinese, and became a key doctrine of Vajrayana Buddhism. And many are not aware that how Buddhism, Hinayana, transformed to Vajrayana. That's a remarkable transformation. It happened in between about 100 BC to about 300 AD. And we believe that Kamrupa played a key role as accepted by many Tibetans. And that's why many Tibetan pilgrims to Hazu's Bhagavad Temple and also to our village Suankusi to pay homage to Mahamuni. We discovered that Mahamuni to be Swat Muni as well as Madhchandranath. I'll explain that because Madhchandranath's Akul Vira Tantra that it composed is many similar to Jiva Tantra's philosophy. But those are a future study. And also Meghalaya, even though Meghalaya became mostly Christian, we still know some of the rock culture still exists. We have a Moira I recently visited because the Silk Route goes through Meghalaya to Chittagong. And then we have a study ongoing, Bhutan-Kamrup cultural link, started by my wife Biradas back in 1998. She wrote a book about this, Butter Tea at Sunrise, published in 2002 by National Geographic, where she mentioned a lot. And now we are restarting this project. I'm hoping that our scholar, Professor Nanda, will join us, as he has been a big scholar for a long time. So this is our future plan. Now, here, briefly, because I know the organizers don't have enough time, we have another 10 minutes time, I'm going to touch on the next two, the discovery of a Silk Weaver mediated Hindu knowledge system. Why? Because even though we discover as Jiva Tantra, so what? Western scholars say it doesn't mean anything to us. There are so many tantras in India, who cares? But your civilization is not continuing. So how can you prove that Hindu civilization is a continuous civilization? So for that, and what is this self-identity? We go back to my original article published in 2003. In that model, that there would be a community that have generated knowledge, indigenous knowledge system. If there's a continuous civilization, we should be able to find this knowledge generation continuing through a very traditional way, not by the Western or Islamic study centers. Should be by Hindu and not really from textbook. There are a lot of Brahmanical textbooks that were written. Anybody can generate knowledge with those textbooks because many of Harvard Rigvedic scholars I met, they're generating knowledge by using the text. But as per our criteria for civilization continuity, we need to find evidence that right now, somewhere in India, a small tribe, some indigenous people are living, they are generating knowledge based on their continuing tradition. Where do you find them? For example, if you want to say that there's a north-south east Vedic Silk Route, we need to tell them that there should be somewhere along this Vedic Silk Route, those communities exist. So what we did, we started this project in 1994 and ended in 2009. We started the Silk Weaver community of Swanquist because that has been really preserving their tradition. This is a map. As you can see, I can show you here. Here is the historic Temporal. This is the Swat Duri. Those are at least preserved from 10th century from Dharmapal kingdom. The Mughal silk weaving has been going on since ancient time. We have actually exhibition where we're showing Mughal weaving by boiling water. Same thing that we demonstrated in Indus Valley Civilization 5,000 years ago. The bright example, and the community Tantis are living in an old wisdom. So we studied a single family, my ancestor family. I am the 6th generation Mughal silk weaver. By caste, we are Tati or Ramali Dhuri. We have the tradition of maintaining. So we have this small area, Goli called, it's a very ancestral home. And then I went to Bhutan, I met people who visited our family, our area. As a part of my ethnography study. I lived there. And then I studied the cave, Suadhuni cave, with our students. And with this, what I did, I traced our family history from 1920 to 1960 and applied our model of indigenous knowledge system. Then I stressed the social networking that time, using a lot of oral tradition history like that, talking to old people. What I found that during Gandhi's visit in 1946, there was a new kind of a revolution of knowledge generation amongst our weavers for new design. So it shows that Gandhi was able to actually, as per our hypothesis, reactivate kind of that Hindu knowledge system, village to village. That is an example. I would not talk detail about that. Next, we studied 1965 to 1980. Interestingly, this time this knowledge system almost died down because of Indian bureaucracy. Indian bureaucracy really harmed many of this traditional knowledge system because of corruption, because of mistrust. And we have documented that as well here. And then the revival of our system, indigenous knowledge system amongst Mughal silk weaving families between 1980 and 1902, partly because of reintegration of sense of Swaraj, because my dad and other actually joined Sangha, the Rashtriya Sangha Sangha, to help them give kind of a boost about their self-identity that helped. And this has been documented, well documented in this publication, 2 publications. I would not go into details. For those who are taking this course would be really benefited by reading these textbooks about learning how we have traced the history of one community, silk weaving Tanjapura community for 100 years. to document that some of these indigenous people, Hindus, are still surviving, and maybe along the Silk Route. And interestingly, we found a Shudra-based education system in practice among silk weavers and potters. And this is interesting. When we talk about education system in India, we talk about Gurukul system. But Gurukul system was intellectual education, generating idea. But do you know that Columbus did not come to India for intellectual? You know that. They came for economic gain. Outside India is not known for really for intellectual tradition. Even West declined. They said that our Indian philosophy doesn't exist. India is known for economic gain, economic power. And that was mainly powered by Shudras. They produce things for selling, skill development. So what kind of education they have? You ask any Indian knowledge system expert, they decide. So we are the first one actually to show, document, using a medical humanities approach, that Shudra had a knowledge system. We found it's a Panchapadika system. One of my students now, Tulika Sharma, is working on for her PhD, prospective PhD student. And also this has been incorporated, part of this, in Dr. Lekhika Pathak's PhD thesis in IIT Guwahati. And we published an article in 2017 in SMS magazine. And this is the article name. The identification of caste as an indigenous knowledge system in the structural framework of Hindu civilization. So Shudra's knowledge system, apparently, could be a very good example of continuity of Hindu civilization. Because many of the Indus Vedic culture, many of the craftsmanship apparently is continuing as per Western scholars' ideas. And those are not actually ideas, those are craftsmanship, like boat making, etc. So in a way, what you call caste now, Shudra, was purely a knowledge system. And then this is what actually also we published, there's a preprint, it is under review now. The 25 pages article. Those who are taking this course, you'll be able to take a capstone project on that. You'll be able to earn some money by working with the weavers. After 6 months volunteering, you'll learn how to work with Shudras to learn their education system. And that is very important for India to be an economic powerhouse, to be a global power. What I say, why? Because after 10 years of our Mananiya Sri Narendra Modi's efforts to make India a Vishwaguru, the recent Forbes ranking placed India as a 12th power, not even within 10. Why? We have not realized the importance of Shudra knowledge system. That's my theory. So this is an appeal as well. Those in Indian government now going through our concept that is submitted in 2022 to consider us that we are doing something new, an Indian knowledge system. The next third one is this, a living Mughal museum. What I say is that even if we bring forth to academia, from a medical humanities point of view, that we have a Shudra knowledge system, so what? It doesn't really make a proof that this is a continuous civilization. It could be all, whatever saying Shudra knowledge system, Panchapadika, maybe all kind of adapted from Western world, Islamic world. Nicely mixed up, nicely packaged in Suman Kusi to make a Panchapadika education system. How do you know? We need bigger proof. How to make that bigger proof? That's why we have started a very serious, ambitious project, starting from 2010, slowly, but it's becoming now more from 2018. This is taking this social network, going straight to mind-body complex, that we now know as per our consciousness research and from all this social media structure, that human mind in a society work on a very particular networking pattern. We have an Indian identity, as yesterday Professor Kapur talked about Indian identity as a social belonging, social identity. We respect our elders, joint family. We have a lot of festivals. It's a part because we have somehow a distinct social network that works. It's groom our human being, our brain, compared to say somebody from Germany. So, what is this social networking? This thing. If our hypothesis is correct, that India has a distinct civilization, continuous, then there should be a distinct social networking group who should identify not only Swampusri but along the Vedic Silk Route. So, what we did, we opened our Vedic Silk Route Museum. This was opened in 2019 by Mananya Hambai. This is the Swat Muni Ashram area. We're trying to preserve it right now. As I speak, many people, local people, are trying to submit their Bosundhara things by claiming some of this land. We're trying to protect this heritage and open this old road from Swampusri, Hazur to Bhutan, the pilgrimage road. And this is our Kanchipura gate. This is our Sripini Sangam Khetra. We're trying to protect. This was actually our old area home in 1920. It's all inviting a lot of college students across India so that we can study the social network. Another visit is all Photograph Muga Museum. This is our group. You're all invited to visit our living Muga Museum in Swampusri. And this how, with the Vedic Silk Route Museum, Muga Bastradhan project, we're trying to study this IK and our indigenous Kamrupa information network, social network. And as I speak, one of my students is now, Mona, is in Vietnam. She donated Muga silk Bastra to a Vietnamese Hindu temple of 6th century. So this is the Muga Bastra project, some photograph. This is the KaviKrishna Centre Museum, 4-part. I'll talk about 2 minutes. And so now the Swat Muni Ashram, Tatipura Muga Sripini Sangram Kantra, Vedic Silk Museum, and a Cancer Patient Rehabilitation Center. With that, we have about, so far, since 2018, about 140 groups visited us, total about 500 people from across India. Dr. Lekika Pathak here, she already submitted her PhD thesis. Many of the work of this, what I explained, has been documented in the thesis. Rupam Das is doing PhD on this project. Titumuni Bosse will continue. She's a prospective PhD student. We have Mr. Shailat Basha doing this project right now as a second year for this certificate course of IKS. Hopefully he'll be a PhD student by next year. Ms. Dulika Sharma is another prospective, she's sitting right here. And also our Ms. Sainika Das, Dulika Sainika, cornerstone of our KaviKrishna telemedicine care, they're directly involved with our cancer patient care. And also Shirshajit, I think he's not here. He has started a little restaurant here, but he is developing an app. And he was at Harvard because he wanted to do his PhD in Harvard. I said, why not? We need some ambitious student. That's our plan. So he is developing an app with Dr. Lekika Pathak, so they can use AI, artificial intelligence system, to study the social network amongst all those social groups along the Vedic Silk Route. So this is finally our medical humanities team with our cancer patients. I have 2 more minutes to talk. This group at our lab, some of them are involved with Muga silk biomedical research, because we have some good properties of Muga silk we found. Professor Utpal Bora is also working on from IIT Guwahati. We have started the project in 2008, but we could not find reproducible data of Muga's UV protection, Muga trace, many other quality, because The Mughals real this seed, the cocoon's quality is changing because of climate change. We're working on that. These are publications. The Madrid, this is now, we are using this social network to study the TB spread, the spread of drug-resistant tuberculosis. This is again a very cross-interdisciplinary work. See, we're applying our work on this Silk Route Hindu knowledge system, social network in our medical science to actually develop a tuberculosis control program. This also shows the relevance of studying Hindu knowledge system on our time by using a methodology that based on a Shudra knowledge system or Hindu knowledge system called Sarvatarka. And this is an article published and you can read it. And this is our brochure. Everybody is welcome. With that, I conclude my talk. My last was establishing Lenin University Museum. With that, I want to give you a 1-minute summary. What I was saying is this, that if we want to prove Hindu civilization now existed, it's a continuous. We could be shouting here in India, it doesn't really matter. We need to bring on the table some documents, some experimental designs. It can come from archaeology, it can come from social science, it can come from very other distinct disciplines. We're trying to bring a little small contribution by using Medical Humanities program. And we have developed a laboratory system, a living Mughal museum. We have discovered a community along the Vedic Silk Route. So with this, our hope and summary is that eventually we'll be able to make everybody agree that everything that we have has come from Indus Valley Civilization or Indus Earth Civilization. With that, thank you, and I acknowledge our team. It's a dynamic team. Thank you so much, and I would like to welcome any question. Thank you, and everybody, all the young guys, please join our course of Indian Knowledge System in Swankoshi and IIT Guwahati. Thank you.